All right, and we're live. So happy Thursday, everyone. Welcome to our No Code Ops live community show. How amazing is that intro? I can't get enough of it. It's awesome. It also made me realize that I do wear a lot of black shirts, and so maybe I should change that up. If this is your first time here, we're an international community for people working in operations, so operation roles, and leveraging the power of no code to scale up their career. So every week we come together on a Thursday to teach you new skills with our expert guest speakers. So today we will be talking about one of the tools that we love and use the most in our community, Zapier, of course. And we were talking with Lars, our guest today, and I was just saying that every tool on earth is releasing new features every week, every day. And so today is not different. We're going to look at the new features being released by Zapier, but having a quite a closer look on how to use and build Zapier tables. So without further ado, let me pull in our speaker and introduce him to you. Hi, Lars. Excited to have you here. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Hi, thank you so much. Yeah, I'm excited to be here. Been a longtime fan of the community and excited to be a part of it.
Fantastic. Before we get into your presentation, I would love to know a little bit more about you. So I know that you work as a senior product manager at Zapier, but how did you get into no code and who was Lars before getting into no code?
Yeah, I don't know how far back to go there, but I've always been a bit of a gamer and computer geek and loved, even automating characters back in before high school type of thing and having people train with little macros and stuff like that. So always loved the automation space. And then, fast forward a few decades and into my career, I was working at Hootsuite for a while as the mobile product manager, working on our mobile apps, so a little bit of social media automation there, and then took some time off to do a couple startups. I did one with a friend and one by myself. And the one I did by myself was called Social Puppy. It was a personalized dog training app. A big passion of mine. It was kind of a passion project, and that was a lot of fun. And that's where I actually really got introduced to Zapier, because I was using all these different systems and I was a solo founder, developer, everything, wearing many hats. And once I discovered that I could automate tons of that stuff, from marketing to onboarding to troubleshooting to GDPR delete data requests, all with Zapier, it really unlocked so much. And I had this aha moment where I was like, okay, from now on, when I'm picking software, I'm going to make sure that it's on Zapier. So I switched email marketing automation tools and stuff like that. And so I was a paying customer and a big fan. And then a friend from Hootsuite joined Zapier, and he heard I was looking for a job and he said I should come join. And so I joined Zapier almost 4 years ago now. I started on the integrations team. So, that's a tough space. We have a lot of integrations. It's a lot of hard work. And
Right
we
at the
started,
core.
yeah, right at the core. And I was like, oh, well, that's a cool place to join. And I did similar work at Hootsuite. So it was really fun. And we did lots of experimentation with our partners like Facebook and Google and such. And then slowly that team evolved into the team now that we're building new products on Zapier.
That's fantastic. And, we absolutely love it in the community. And we were having this conversation earlier on, pre going live. And I like how you kind of fell into it because of a need that you had, and with so many tools available out there, I feel I always try to advise people that come to me with like, oh, I don't know what tools I should be using. I was like, well, but what are you trying to solve? Let's look at why you need a tool to do what. And so I love that. And I love that you're a gamer as well. I am as well. So maybe we can have a post live chat about that as well.
Nice.
Amazing. And awesome. In terms of Zapier itself, you now work kind of in the Zapier Tables team. It's a fairly new feature. What could you tell us about that new feature? Why should we get excited about it? Obviously everyone is, but I just want to see it in
Mhm.
action, I guess.
For sure. Yeah, I've got some slides and a demo we'll get into, which will go a little more deeply into that. But essentially, one of our missions at Zapier is to democratize automation, make it easier to set up these types of things, save humans time, and get the robots doing work for us. And now in the age of AI, of course, it's
Mm,
totally opened up the possibilities there. But something like tables, we tried to just make it very easy to use, very reliable, very transparent on how you set up your automations and how you can see if they're working or not and troubleshoot, and pretty resilient, so that once you have a working system, it's hard to break. And especially if you share it with others, it's very hard for them to break. Because reliability is so important once you set up something like this.
We have somebody in our community that actually told me his companies hire him to break things, which I absolutely love. I was like, that's
Nice.
the most amazing role I've heard. But yeah, without further ado, let me pull in your slides so we can get a good look at it. And I'm just going to say hi to everyone in the audience. If you're watching from YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, wherever we are, give us a wave in the chat. I can see Lacey is here. Hi, Lacey. But yeah, let us know if you use Zapier, where you're joining us from. And if you have any questions at any time, please drop them in the chat and I will be reading them out for you. All right.
Nice. Cool. Thank you so much. I will get into this. Yeah, just a few minutes about, Zapier and tables and kind of how we built it, and then we'll jump into a demo. So first up, yeah, how and why we built it, a little bit of background there. Myself, you can take a screenshot of my email or my Twitter handle and reach out anytime. I love to talk to people using tables and love to help them get set up, love to learn from the community. I spoke to Philip way back in the day before we even started tables and got a lot of good advice from him. So if you ever want to reach out, I'm very happy to jump on a call, experiment and build is what I do all day. So first up, just in case you don't know too much about Zapier, nice, thanks for dropping the link. Zapier came from humble beginnings. It's about 10 years old now. They only raised 1.2 million back in the day, and have been relatively cash flow positive, not raising much money since then. A lot of startups operate quite a bit differently and just raise huge amounts of money, and Zapier wasn't that. They're also remote from day one, so it's been a 100% remote company all of these years. It started from a hackathon, and then the founders went and raised some money, joined Y Combinator, and it started with two-step zaps. So something happens in one system, like you get a lead from Facebook lead ads, and you want to send a Slack message notifying that, or take an attachment from a new email and save it in Dropbox. Those are classic examples of where Zapier started. And now fast forward 10 years, it's just over 800 people across 40 countries. Like I said, everybody's remote. That's from we get together about once a year as a whole group and have a week together where we brainstorm and just get to know each other and take big pictures like this. So those are always a lot of fun.
That looks awesome.
Yeah, it's so wild. And I joined when there was around 300 people, and now there's over 800. So it's been just every year these pictures get bigger and bigger. I was looking at our stats. So over 2 million businesses are using Zapier and automating 2 billion tasks per month, which is just, a little mind blowing. And I saw that. And this is a quote from Calendly, which is, a product we also use. And they use us as well. And it's so interesting. Our partners often use us and we use them. And there's a lot of feedback back and forth, which is awesome. But it's a good example of what Zapier is trying to do, just save people time. Here they're using it across a few different teams, product and support. And, we see that as well. That's kind of ideal use case. A bunch of people around a company, saving time. Now, this is kind of a fun slide. This is a GIF from when we launched our early access program. But, I put it here to just kind of show that Zapier builds the tool that you can build stuff with. And it's so interesting. Over the last couple of years, I've just been talking to lots of people like yourselves and users, and they're just building such mind-blowing, businesses and automations that power those. And so we give them these pretty basic tools, and they go to town with it. So it's so fun to see what people can build. And this is kind of how we ended up building tables. Sorry, I went 2 slides there. So, this is a little bit of a heavy slide, but basically we saw people building complex systems. They went from these 2-step zaps that were pretty basic, when something happens in one app, do something in another, to building these systems where there's lots of things happening. They have complex zaps, and it has logic in it and paths doing different things, and one zap triggering another zap and stuff like that. And so we kind of internally call those zap systems. That's not a term we use much, but just for the sake of explaining it here. And it has kind of the 3 layers. There's the user interface where people are actually doing things. There's the logic, which, is kind of the zaps, like, what happens when this happens, do things get reformatted or filtered or whatnot, and where's that data being stored. But what we saw from users and from customer support and just over the years is that these systems, as they get more complex, they get really fragile. So, in this kind of rudimentary example, you got your user here and they make some change in Google Sheets and it breaks your automation. And then that has, cascading effects and just completely destroys your Zap. And so what we found is when people were trying to build these types of systems on top of our partners' apps that go through Zapier, oftentimes it would just get really complex and it'd be, easy to break, hard to troubleshoot, and really tough to maintain. So we wanted to
That's
try to make that.
literally everyone's problem. Like I have so
Yeah,
many scenarios running through my head right now. Just with this
totally.
image, I can put faces onto those icons.
Nice. Yeah. Anyone that's like, built a system with Google Sheets in the back
100%.
end has just run into these types of things. Like there's just so many ways to trigger your zaps accidentally or break it. And so we see people put notes all over their sheets. They're like, don't touch this column, don't touch that, only touch this and stuff like that. So we wanted to build something that was a little just easier to wrap your head around. So that kind of comes into where we're at now. We're looking at kind of software, no code apps as these three layers. And Zapier has traditionally just really been in this logic layer where you can build a lot of like integration, automation, logic. And now we're introducing this data layer. But of course, you could use tables, you could use third-party apps like, Sheets or Airtable or anything like that. CRMs are often a source of truth. And you could use all these things, interchangeably and side by side. And so what we're just adding is a little bit of more alternatives. And then there's another new product called interfaces, which I'll talk about today, and I'll do a bit of demoing of that too. That's where you can build, a user-facing front end, a web page with all sorts of elements within it,
All
and
the
use tables
pretty
as a.
things. All the
Oh
pretty
yeah,
things.
totally. It's how you can really surface it and make it look really polished, and you could do custom branding on it and custom domains, and even user management is available there now too. So you can have a logged in experience for people. It's really exciting what's happening there. So I was going to share a little bit about how we came to where we're at today, and how did we end up building tables. I'll go through it quick, but I'm happy to answer more questions about this if y'all are interested. But basically, about a year and a half ago, we kind of came up with this concept. We had all this research about Zap systems and all this customer support feedback, and we knew that we should try to help users with these problems. But we didn't really know what to do. And we had a few different ideas. We were thinking about building a forms product because, just data capture is so common. That's often how Zaps are started. It comes in from a form on a website or internal form or something like that. So we had an idea there. And then we had another product that we launched, Approval by Zapier, which was the ability to put an approval step within a Zap so that, the robots could do a bunch of work, but then a human could take a look at it and make sure it was good to go before it proceeded. And we're looking at those. And my boss at the time, he said, which is like so enlightening and like really I've carried it with me. He's like, what if we took a step back and we built a tool that users could build these types of things with? Maybe they want an approval flow, maybe they want a form, maybe they want a website, maybe they just need a data storage tool, and it will give them the features that they can build approval flows and forms and all that stuff. And so that was a really enlightening moment. And instead of building a bunch of small products, we just decided to really focus on tables and interfaces. So over the course of time, I took this course, Testing Business Ideas by Strategizer. It was really, really helpful and interesting. Gave us a bunch of language and ways to kind of test ideas and reduce risk over time as we can move forward on this project. Because like I said, we've experimented a lot and tried different things, and so we're experimenting. And what that really looks like in practice is just launching. We really believe in launching like early and often. We're fortunate in so many ways. Internally, we use Zapier a lot. Like obviously, our account is just wild with how many Zaps are there. So when we launch something internally, someone from support or product or marketing or somebody or ops will try it out. And so we get tons of feedback internally. So we launched internally right away. Like so early, it was embarrassing, which was just awesome to get some feedback and see what people really cared about. And then, fast forward, we launched an early access program where we reached out to users and we launched it at Zap Connect. And we said like, hey, if you want to try experimental products, join this program, we'll tell you all about them. And so that's been really successful. And from a product management standpoint, it was great because I could just talk to new people every day. It's so many user interviews. I'll talk about that more in a sec, but basically just continuous funnel of people trying the product. And then we just recently went into open beta where anyone can try it. And so that's been really exciting, and we needed to be ready to scale. And you could see back here, like everything, design, ideas, development was just all over the place. And as we started to clarify what we were building and why and for who, things started to stabilize, and we were able to, open it up to more people.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit more about what that looks like. So,
100%.
literally talk.
That's always like I approach anything. Well, I guess that's good best practice for anyone building anything, whether it's a system, a solution, a product, a community. I always adopt that kind of design thinking process where you're always thinking about, okay, who am I? Why am I doing it? Who am I doing it for? And then the how will come after that. And so this is also like a clear representation of that, and a visual one, which we all love. So yeah, that's definitely the best way to go about things.
Nice. Yeah, my number one recommendation for anyone building anything, physical product, digital product, process. Phil actually said to me a long time ago, he said, as operations, the process is our product. And that stuck with me too. And so just talking to users across all these different businesses and all these different situations keeps us like just really humble and honest, and watching them try the product. That was another thing, is that we'd jump on these calls and we'd say, okay, here's access to tables, like go for it, like just explore. And we'd watch and we'd bite our tongue and take notes and just watch what was easy and what was confusing and stuff like that. So just so much learning there. Like, just highly recommend talk to as many users as you can. So internally we were doing that, and we were doing discovery with users, and then we started onboarding like just every user that would talk to us. We would join the call and give them access and watch them play. And now we're at this open beta where we're just talking to anyone that runs into any problems or has any questions, and tons of ways to reach out to the team. And so we just love to see what people are building and where they're getting stuck.
That's amazing. And actually, I'm going to ask a question as well to the audience. I can see there's Bryce coming to you from Nashville. Hi, Bryce. Philip Butler is here. Jen, Philip is here. So hi, Phil. Rachel Thomas, and other people from the YouTube that I can't see because you haven't said hi. So, but I know that you're there. But I would love to know what kind of systems, or what's your most complex build on Zapier. Let us know in the chat, because I would love to see how people are using the tool, or whether you were one of the first people to try the beta. Let us know. Very keen to kind of understand what kind of audience we have here today, and how people are using the tool. That'd be really useful.
Yeah, I bet I've spoken with a bunch of people watching today, because these are early adopters that have tried these things out. So. I think the last slide on this is kind of what that looked like. So this is a little bit of a messy slide, but I was looking at our monthly active users, and this is what it looked like. For a very long time, we had almost nobody. And then we had some bumps as we started to invite more people. And then just now we've started to really open it up. And now we're doing some marketing and stuff like that too. And so, we're really in a fortunate position to be able to drive so much traffic to it. But it's been just really exciting to see, what percent of these people can actually be successful and build cool things and tell us about them. So it's been quite a journey. But we should get into a demo. Shall we?
Yeah, let's get our hands dirty. That's what I like the most. Actually seeing what to do with the tools,
Nice.
This is a unique opportunity, for our community to get together every week and kind of really understand and get a grasp and direct knowledge on how to use the tools, and, kind of acquire new skills, and, potentially you can come out of this talk today with new ideas for your companies as well.
Nice. Cool. And we also want to save time for Q&A. So I'll go fast and I'll just kind of explore and show a bunch, but feel free to line up your questions. And also I'm going to show you some stuff that is available right now, but also some stuff that's coming really soon. So this will be fun and a little bit exploratory.
Sneak peek.
Yeah, so tables now is available in your sidebar. When you log in, you'll see tables there. You'll also see interfaces, which is where you can build the front end experience. I'll show some of that, and then of course Zaps, which is that logic layer we were talking about. I of course have a bunch of tables set up, so I'll show you a few of those. But first, I'll just show you how to create a table. You can create blank tables. You can import data from CSV. Coming really soon, you'll be able to import from existing systems. And we're working on templates as well. And our goal there is templates that are tables plus interfaces plus apps, like entire systems that you can test out. So let's do a little quick demo from scratch here. If you want to create a table, just kind of get you oriented on what's going on here. Here's your table, pretty familiar. You got fields, these like vertical columns, and you got records. You can just continue to add records. And so this is much more like Airtable than Google Sheets, in that it's a little more like a no-code database than just a canvas of cells. And so if you think about each record as something like a lead or a project or something like that, a product that you sell on your website type of thing, you might have different fields for that. So we have 10 or so, maybe 11 or so different field types, new ones coming all the time. And so text and long text and date and, all these different things. And we've got a few new ones coming up too. Anytime you pick one of these, you get a nice little experience there. So I'm going to just change that to a date field. Now we've got, date picker. I point out date because that is like a type that when you're in the editor, you can do simple math with. You could say date plus 7 days, date minus a month, in case you want to, schedule things out like that. Another interesting kind of field type is you got drop downs. And with drop downs, you can provide a static list. So, single or multi-select static lists, but you can also connect from other tables. And so we have another table called team members somewhere in this list. There it is. And that's a table that we refer to all the time. We've got our team there, their names, their Slack handles, emails, favorite ice cream for parties and such. And that way we can, assign things. We can do automatic messaging, those types of use cases. Oh, sorry about that. So there you go. You can add more fields and choose their types and such. And there's a few fun ones coming up there. On the left, you'll find settings. I won't go too deep into that. You can find your zaps. And so this is what I was talking about with making the automation as easy as possible. So for example, say we added a new field. I'll just call it a button. And let's say we wanted to send an email. This is a very popular use case to basically take the record that you're looking at and automate it. And so here we've got the send email button. If we wanted to create a zap from that, there's a few different ways to do it, but I'll just do it this way quickly. And what that'll do is it'll open up the editor with that app and trigger and table already set up for you. So it becomes pretty quick. You can test that out to make sure you pull some data from your table. Not a lot of data in that table right now, but you kind of get the picture there. And if I wanted to do something like send an email, I could use Gmail or Outlook or email by Zapier is a nice, easy way to do it too. And in just a couple seconds here, I will actually might as well set this up while we're here. And I could have taken some data from that record. Let's just call it field 3. And, that might be all there. Oh, I need a subject in there. Yeah, subject. And, boom, this is, I can quickly send myself a test email.
So it's almost like adding a database that you can pull in from instead of using a Zap to connect your database, you now have a sort of view that allows you to do that. And on top of that, build your automations.
Yeah, exactly that. So it's a little bit of a friendly place to start. Tables is the best. And now from here, maybe records get added here from a form, or maybe people manually do it, and maybe I'm assigning people. I'll show a demo of kind of a use case there, but just that quickly, I created a table that I can send emails from.
Yeah, and Bryce is saying from the chat, the button that automates something I had always wished their table could do more easily. But there you go, Bryce. You got Zapier to do it for you.
Nice. Yeah, I'll show you that kind of a little more set up. So here is a table that I use for demos. And let's onboarding. This is the one I was thinking. So this is a table this is actually a common use case as well. Say you have a new employee joining your team and they need access to a few different systems. So you could add a new record. Of course, this could come through a form. I'll kind of show you how that gets set up. We've got to define, an email address for that user, maybe their hire date, maybe they're getting hired next week. We have a program called Zapier, which is, you get introduced to somebody at Zapier that'll kind of be your wingman for the first few weeks. And here I've got a little bit of logic. So this is one of those drop downs where you can select a record. And now what's happening here is that there's a Zap set up that when you select a record here, it'll go and look up what required systems that user should have access to. So if you look at Zaps, you can connect all sorts of different Zaps to your table. You can see that finished running there, and it said, okay, in product, you need Figma, Jira, and Slack. And so over here, we can see all the different, Zaps that are connected to this table. And here's that button. If you notice there, once all these fields were filled out, that button became enabled because, you need to fill out the fields before you can send the intro. So now I'll press that button. And what this button is actually doing is it's sending a Slack message and submitting to IT for IT to go and approve that request. And once that is sent, you can see the status of that button is actually changing. So you can change it via Zaps. You can change the label. You can change the state. So you can really get creative with the kind of system you set up here.
That's awesome. That's cool.
Nice. Yeah, and I was talking about approval workflows. So here is that workflow. So you can imagine I send this to IT, they get a Slack message, there's this new person, can you set up their accounts? And now it's waiting for them to either approve or reject that request. And so, I'll just go ahead and approve that. And what that means is that the Zap ran up until that point, waited for me to press approve, and then continued running once I did.
And is that a collaborative view? So if you send this to the IT team and then they approve it, would you then see the status change on your view as well? Or
totally, yeah. So we're definitely leaning into collaboration here. So say I take this table and I share it. You could share it with your team. If you're on a teams of companies plan on Zapier, you can have multiple people signed in at the same time. And, you can assign things to other people and stuff like that. And people can collaborate on the table and the automations and all that. We call those builders, people that are building the workflows, people like yourselves. But then you also might have some stakeholders internally or externally, maybe it's partners or customers or something, and you want them to be able to view the data, but not necessarily interact with that. So there's view only mode. And then there's editor mode, which means that they can edit the records. For example, maybe they work in HR and they want to add a new employee to this table, but they can't, edit the Zaps or break the Zaps, importantly. You can give them editor mode, so they can't change the table itself. They can just work with the records on it.
We have a question from Christian. Can I create a system where two-way sync is possible between the data stored in tables and Jira, for example? Or Jira?
There's the long answer there. The short answer is yes. The long answer is that what you do is you create a couple Zaps, one Zap that triggers when there's an update in tables and another Zap that triggers when there's an update in Jira. I actually, have some systems like that set up, and it gets complicated if they get out of sync or something like that, but you can definitely set up basic two-way sync.
Brilliant.
Nice.
I love the requirements. I love the requirements that you cannot trigger the automation unless you satisfy these requirements. That's so cool.
Yeah, I could show. Let's see. That looks like it's this Zap. So here in the sidebar, like I was saying, we've got all the Zaps that are set up, and you can go and edit those Zaps. I'll open up the Zap history too, so you can see a few different links where those things are running. This is how that Zap is set up. It runs when the record is updated. And then depending on which role you chose, it does different things, assigns different jobs there. And then you can also see when those things are running. What I kind of should have showed is if I just quickly add one more record here, Millie 2, and I don't think I need to fill out too much. But see, now this new record is set up and these approval buttons are waiting. And so if I go look at that approve Zap, which I think hopefully it's this one. I should see that Zap is waiting. It ran up until that approval step, and now it's waiting for me to press approve. And so that's where you can set up those workflows. And so another example, this one is a approve and reject workflow, but I've got another one, little sneak peek at what's next, is we have this feedback portal. And so I built this whole portal using interfaces and tables and Zaps. And this is where we send people when they want to learn more about tables, and they can go and book a call using Calendly, actually. And or they can go read the user guide, or they can submit a feature request, or watch some videos about tables.
So the whole
And so,
UI is made with Zapier interface?
yes,
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
including these forms. And so here's a form that anyone can fill out. Lars Vedo at Zapier.com doing a demo. And, let's call this urgent. You could add a screenshot. You could say whether you're open to a call, and anyone could submit that. And so that's a form that I built using interfaces, and that goes into a table. I'll just go over to that table. Feedback. And so here we have that coming through. I'm pretty sure.
Doing a demo is the last one, yeah.
Right, doing a demo. Yeah, so I'm experimenting here. The feature request comes into this column, and then it uses AI to create a title. I'll show you how that works, but basically experimenting there. And then from here, we can decide whether we send that to Jira, where we do work on these types of things, or not. So, yeah, and I'll show that little AI step because I'm sure
that's cool. That's cool. And Andres, he's saying two-way syncs are tricky to build. Do you have an estimate for views?
Yeah, that sounds like, yeah. Is that an estimate on when views is coming? Probably,
yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So, sneak peek there. We've got this new feature coming very soon. Don't want to hold my team to the fire, but in June, we've been testing this internally for quite a while. There's so many details around it, but essentially what views are is the ability to create a view off of your table. And so here I'll create a view called bugs. And on that view, so now I'm on that view bugs, maybe I'll add a filter, and I'll change I'll add another filter. It already had that filter. I'll change the category to bug. Oops. See, this is where we're still working on that feature. But yes, coming very soon in June is what we're aiming for.
Love the troubleshooting live. Always happens.
It's getting so close. But I'll tell you a couple cool things about views. So you can create a view of your table. And so your default table has all the fields and all the records and such. But then you can create a view and you can hide some fields. You can lock fields. So maybe if you didn't want people to be able to change the title, for example, you could lock it. And then you can share that separately from your table. And so that the people you share it with, they only get access to the data in this view, and they can't see the data that's in the table itself. And even if they try to do hacky stuff through the API or something, that data is not there. So it's a very secure way to share a subset of the data with, partners or team members or customers or whomever. And you can give them permissions to press buttons or not, and you can do all sorts of different things there. So that's where the creativity comes in.
Nice. Sweet.
Nice. Okay, so quick interfaces. So this is interfaces. Like I said, it's in the sidebar. This is where you can build those things like the feedback portal. I'll show you the one that I built here so you can see it. Interfaces consist of pages, and then you can connect them to tables for data, and you can build Zaps off them. You can build Zaps directly connected to interfaces. There's an integration there as well for adding users and things like that. And then you can, of course, build Zaps on top of tables. And so if you look at a page essentially has components. You can see here on the side all the different types of components, text and layout things, forms, which are obviously very popular. You can surface the table itself or a Kanban view of the table if you want to drag things around. And now there's actually lots of AI-powered features coming. So you can do chat bots and you can personalize them, and there's some new features coming there really soon. You can do AI prompts, and so different ways to answer people's questions using AI. And just recently they added the ability to embed media. You saw I had some YouTube videos in my feedback portal there, and you can really build quite a no-code experience here. Access and users, so you can do managed users and send people invites and things like that.
Like
And
a
of course you can
management, like a portal for, specific users.
totally, yeah. There was a demo yesterday where they built a interface that had tables with videos embedded in them, and you got access to that by subscribing. So when you made a purchase in Stripe, or when a customer made a purchase in Stripe, they automatically got an email that gave them access to this interface with a library of images or videos about the whatever topic it was.
That's so cool. I can see our
Mhm.
audience is warming up as well. I can see more questions popping in the chat, but yeah, I'm gonna
Nice.
wait a couple minutes before I drop them in.
Cool. Nice. I could try a quick live demo here. We saw the onboarding table. And so let's say we wanted to start from scratch, build a brand new interface, and say we wanted to add a form. Maybe we don't want people manually typing in the new hires detail. And so we could create an onboarding table. It automatically creates a form for all the different fields we have there. That looks like too many fields, so we could go in and we could hide some of them. I've got a bunch of test fields here. If you want to get really fancy, you could even use URL parameters to pre-fill. So if you do, reference, the reference ID here is email. I could actually link someone to this form, and with a URL parameter, I could pre-fill their email if I knew it. So you can get pretty fancy there. And data, we can see it's already connected to that. We can see that when a user submits this form, we could show notifications, we could run zaps, we could navigate to another page, all sorts of options there. And just to kind of complete that cycle, that's already live. Any of the changes are all live updating. So it's very quick to start building these things and test them out. Let's just get a couple. Oh, that one will get auto-filled. Let's assign a zap pal myself. Submit. It says form submitted. I could have done anything there. I could, trigger a zap that sends them an email or something like that. And here I will quickly go and hope that the demo went through. Yeah, there it is. Oh, I did something funny there, but yeah, you can see that comes right through, and now it's pending details. It's pending these records to be filled out, and then I can approve and reject it just the same way as before.
That's really cool. That's really nice. Amazing to see, kind of Zapier becoming even more visual and kind of giving more space for people to build interfaces and actual, as you were saying, like no code looking pages on top of your automations, which is awesome. I love that. I'm a very much pretty visual person myself. Yeah, that's great. Let me pull in one of the questions before they get too many. Can you expose views as API endpoints? Can you expose views as API endpoints?
That's a great question, and I'd love to ask a bunch of follow-up questions. If you want to write down my email and reach out after, that'd be great. We are exploring opening up an API for tables, at least reading and writing records, maybe creating tables and things like that. So we don't have an API today, but we are exploring it.
Awesome. And yeah, David, pull in that email or use Lars' contact here. Do get in touch, because David is an amazing operator from our community. Well, actually, that's the Twitter home. I'll share the right link in a second. All right, next question from Bodog. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. But Zapier table reminds me a lot of Airtable, which we currently use. Can you share what the Zapier tables plus Airtable integration will look like when that's rolled out?
Yeah, so Airtable's partner. We got a bunch of other partners as well, and like I think I kind of mentioned before, we foresee companies use lots of different software, and sometimes Airtable will be a good fit. Sometimes Tables will be. Tables is obviously brand new and very lightweight on features. We don't have formulas yet. We don't have connected tables yet, other than the connected drop downs that I was demoing there. So it really depends on what you're building. You might want one or the other, but increasingly we just see customers using these things together. And so the Airtable integration itself will continue to be updated and maintained. And you could set up Zaps to communicate back and forth with Airtable. We see people doing that. So it is really up to what you're trying to build.
Awesome. Lars, I'm going to let you finish your presentation before I keep asking you questions, because I can see they keep coming. So before we officially open up our Q&A, did you have anything else you wanted to show us, or?
I'll show two last things. One is this trigger button. If the user's logged into Zapier, I just wanted to point out, you can actually see who clicks the button. So if anyone on my team clicks that button, it'll actually be available in the data there. Just quickly show that. It's actually very similar to the Chrome extension. If someone is logged into Zapier and they click a button, you can see who clicked that button. So if you have a bunch of people logged in, like we do, our whole team is logged in, and so we can create a form or a table and people can go do stuff, and it will send them an email or send them a Slack message because who actually clicked it. And very last thing is up in the top right is a help center. And you can open that up. There's a bunch of video tutorials. We're adding more help guides and a way to reach out to us. And so, like I said, we love jumping on the calls and seeing what you're building and helping you get past any hurdles and getting your feedback. And we have a lot of stuff planned for this year, but we need your feedback into helping us prioritize it.
That's amazing. And I love the fact that you're always going back to your users to create the perfect product. I love that so much. And yeah, well done. This is all exciting news and exciting new features. I'm excited to try them out myself. So we can officially open our Q&A. So go wild, people. Drop all your questions. This is your opportunity to interact with our expert speaker here. But yeah. Before we get started, thank you so much for sharing that presentation with us. I found it incredibly inspiring and insightful, so I absolutely loved it. Thank you so much. Let's get a couple questions in. So I saw on LinkedIn from Bryce, plan to make the data/table relational?
Yes, we definitely want to do that. We have some plans and some designs around it. It's, of course, it gets complicated pretty quick, but 100%, yeah, we want to do that. And, hopefully this year, it's on a roadmap for this year. But like we say, the more people that ask for these types of features, it gets bumped to the top of the list.
Amazing. I love how whenever I invite people from big companies, or they're always thinking like, what can I say, what can I not say, what did I sign?
Yeah.
I love that. All right. David, how about hiding showing fields based on previous inputs? Also, how about conditional drop-down selection lists?
That's really interesting. I'd probably need to ask a little bit more about that. I do know that on the interfaces side, where you're building forms, they are working on that kind of conditional logic in a form. So if you say you're in product, it takes you to a different set of questions versus something else. Oftentimes in tables, you can use Zaps to do things. So for example, we often get the request for default values in a record, and maybe we'll add that one day built right into the experience. So it's really easy to set up. But in the short term, you could set up a Zap that when someone creates a new record, a Zap runs that fills in a bunch of default values. And so you could do that type of thing. Showing hiding fields isn't dynamic at this point. You can't automate them showing and hiding, but that's really interesting. And like, as we launch views, our customers are always automating everything. So as soon as there's something in the front end, they're like, oh, we want to automate it via Zaps. And so, we predict people will ask for the ability to create views dynamically and even share those dynamically. So a new person signs up on your website, you create a view for them and share it with them with all the settings pre-configured. We kind of expect that to be a request in the future.
Awesome. Let's pull in another question here from Andre. Estimates on getting this out of beta, We love Zapier Tables. We would
Mhm.
love for Zapier Tables to replace Google Sheets for lookup tables for our clients. We are a certified Zapier agency.
Nice. Yeah, nice. I recognize the name. I definitely interviewed a few folks over there as we built this out. Got a lot of good feedback from them. So first off, thank you for that. Second off, on the beta side of things, there we have all sorts of thoughts and opinions about when we should remove the beta tag. We want it to be super reliable and very trustworthy for a large organization and very stable. And so, there's some features that we'd like to have in there, like maybe the ability to back up your data and restore it, stuff like that. Some of those things aren't possible yet. So we don't have a timeline, but we're really thinking about that. And, it's up to your business about, how much you want to lean into a beta product or whatnot. But I can, oh man, I should knock on wood before saying this, but um, Tables is getting a lot of usage, and it's becoming really core to the Zapier experience. And so the only thing we expect is for it to get better. Oh, knock on wood.
Awesome. We have a question from Rachel. Hi, Rachel. Can I embed content on an interface? I would love to add some lightweight reports on one for my team.
Nice. Yeah, it doesn't support embedding any content, like an HTML snippet or something like that. It doesn't support that yet. I know that they get that request. We also think a lot about data visualization. That would be really interesting to do from the table side, and surface it in interfaces, things like that. So short answer, no, but definitely something that is something that they would love to prioritize. So I'll share that feedback with that team.
Awesome. All right. I don't see any other questions coming from our live chat right now. If you do have any more, drop them in. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull in all the other questions that I had from our registration form. So
Cool.
let me pick and choose because we have 10 minutes left. All
Maybe
right. So yeah.
While you're looking for a question, I'll give you a moment. I should have mentioned that we have an early access program. I didn't mention it, but anyone can sign up for that, and that gets you on a mailing list where you hear about new features coming to tables and interfaces and other products too. And we have a Slack community for that program, and so you can jump in there and chat with us real time, and share use cases. And if you run into issues, let us know. That's often a place where we get feedback right away when we launch new features and things like that. So we love to hear from you there. And if you search Zapier Early Access, you'll find the link.
I'm gonna put it in as well. I'm gonna put it in the chat for people here.
Thank you.
Hey, Yared, who just joined us. All right, cool. We do have a question here from David. So, how scalable is using the tables option in Zapier? I'm just gonna pull this here. All right.
Yeah, there's a few different ways things scale. One obvious one is how many records you can have in a table. And so currently, depending on your plan type, you get different limits of how many tables you can have, how many fields on those tables, what features you get, and how many records. And so right now that goes from 2,000 to 10,000, I think. 10,000 for the highest plans. And that's something we definitely are working on. We've been steadily increasing that as we work on tables, and we'd love to really, really increase that limit so people can handle tons of records. And so you can see more improvements there in the future, but we're also trying to, because I guess I didn't show this feature, you can select all the records and right click and run a connected zap. So with a click of a button, you could run 1,000 zaps at once. And so when we start talking about
Be
10,000
careful.
records,
Be careful
totally.
with that click.
Yeah, we've got a bunch of warnings as you go through that process, but I've done it myself. I've run like 30,000 tasks at once, and so if you have 100,000 records in a table, which we can't support yet, you could really trigger a lot of automation. So we have to kind of think about that whole experience really carefully. Another couple features there, you can have 25 users concurrently working on a table. I didn't show it, but if both of us are logged into a table at the same time, you can see the user's cursor bouncing around fields and editing and stuff like that. So it's a really collaborative use case.
That's cool. A question from Ben Willman. What kind of formulas does Zapier Tables support?
Good question. We don't support formulas yet. We do have, so we have formulas on the roadmap. We're working on it as soon as we can. But, and then we will support pretty standard, sheet style formulas, concatenating strings and things like that. So we have a new formula designer that we're working on. And so really looking forward to working on that. We have a prototype, but honestly, it's not good enough for people to play with yet. So coming soon. We also are working on AI powered formulas. So you could take a few of the fields and use that as an input and throw it through OpenAI or ChatGPT, basically, and output the response into a field. And so that we're working on, and we're hopefully launching that in June. Fingers crossed. We're in the final stages of development on that, and that one's going to be really exciting. But in the meantime, you can use Zaps. So in Zaps, we have Formatter by Zapier. You can do all sorts of formatting with dates and numbers and strings and things like that. You can also use OpenAI, ChatGPT, and many more, and more coming soon. I can't remember if I can say what I wanted to there, but we're adding the AI platforms as quickly as we can. And so within your Zaps, you can get really creative there. Take your data from a table, run it through OpenAI, output it in a table, show it up in an interface. You can build really fun things that way.
Awesome. Next question from Matthew. What are the best ways to optimize Zapier without increasing your cost?
All right. Can we pause the recording for a second? I'll give a couple tips. But, cost with Zapier often is related to how many tasks, how many tasks you consume. And so, trying to keep your Zaps, simple, or you can often replace, lots of steps if you use, code by Zapier, things like that. We recently launched a new feature in the code by Zapier step, which is an app you can literally run JavaScript or Python within your Zap. There's an AI builder there. So if you're not very comfortable writing code, or if you are very comfortable writing code, you can just go in there and type what you want the code to do, and it'll spit out the code for you, and then you can test it. And if you need to do a ton of formatting or something like that, that's a way to save some tasks.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Interesting question. I guess more around the product realm. From Jason. How do you weigh the capabilities and probable roadmap of integration partners when evaluating or prioritizing new features?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's such a tough question. And like I said at the beginning of the call, I used to be on the integrations team. So long story short, we have 5,000 plus integrations, and almost all of them are built and maintained by our partners. And so when a customer comes and says, "Hey, I wish that this integration did X, Y, Z," we relay that to the partner, and we're like, "Hey, a bunch of customers are asking for this functionality," and then some integrations we own ourselves and maintain those ourselves. And of course, then it's just balancing customer feedback and how many people are using this thing and how many people want to use this thing. But a very interesting feature launched yesterday, where on the integrations now you can write your own actions. So if you are comfortable, using a no-code builder to build a Zap step that will hit a partner's API, you can add your own actions in a way that has never been easier.
Awesome. Thank you. Oh, let me check. We got 5 minutes left. All right, let's keep going. Question from Ilan. Any plans on expanding the free account features? So here's all the pricing question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it depends. Yeah, we'd have to get a little specific there.
Remember, what did I sign? What did I sign?
Yeah, no, I'm not saying anything too much there. We like, as a company, we have to balance what we give away for free, and there's honestly people that do a lot of spam, and so we have to be careful about if we're enabling spammers to do stuff that's not great on free plans and stuff like that. Speaking for tables in particular, we'd love to open it up a little bit more. Like, we want people to find those use cases. Like I said about my experience before I was at Zapier, finding that success. Zapier, it can take a little while to figure out how to get value out of it. And so if you can get value out of it, and then you are happy to pay whatever, a few bucks a month to use some of these features, that's where we want to help people get to. So with tables, we're during the beta, kind of back to that question too, we're trying to figure out what the pricing model is that works. Like, when are people finding enough value in the free plan that they want to upgrade? We want to make sure that people can get there. So yeah.
Yeah,
But
sounds
again,
fair.
yes, totally. And you could email me. I'd love to hear your feedback on what kind of stuff you'd like to see on the free plan or on different plans, and what kind of limits you're running into.
Awesome. Two more questions before I let you go.
Cool.
What kind of data do you store within Zapier Tables, and what kind of data do you just keep in your own databases? From Wesley.
So that sounds like in my personal use, like how I use
Yeah.
tables. I, of course, like, I'm super, super biased. I like to, what we call, like, eat your own dog food, drink your own champagne. We use our own product a lot. So honestly, tables is pretty much my go-to at this point. I use it for storing people I talk to, like customer interview details and scheduling and stuff like that. Product feedback, my to-do list, all sorts of stuff like that is all in tables at this point. When it comes to maybe like our company, similar types of data we store there, but anything that's like our product, like Zapier itself, and the tables that you all create using tables in your accounts and stuff, that's all like written by our product or by our development team, and in our actual databases. And then in some cases we can like interact with that with Zaps and stuff like that too.
Mm-hmm. So you kind of like you use tables as your main database today.
Yeah, for my work as a
Yeah.
product manager, and for people in support in different roles,
Yeah.
we use tables for those types of things, like kind of like, I don't know if you call it like our office work or something like that,
Uh-huh.
but the stuff we're
Your
doing on a day-to-day.
operations hub.
Totally. Yeah. And then we use CRMs. I think we use at least two CRMs. Different departments use different CRMs and different tools. And we're heavy users of, Airtable and Sheets. And, like I said, all our partner apps, we are power users across the board.
Mm-hmm. 100%. All right. And my final question here, I believe you might know this person, looking at her email from Maggie.
Oh,
Um,
Maggie.
what's the craziest thing that you've automated with tables and Zaps?
Oh, that's funny. So, full disclosure, Maggie and I work together. She's one of the brilliant engineers working on tables. And yeah, a couple quick examples. So, one that I liked is, we had an offsite with the team and we are doing some brainstorming. And there's this exercise where you write a press release. But writing a press release, it's kind of hard. It's like it's that blank page problem. So what I created was a form using interfaces, and you'd fill out a bunch of questions. Hey, what's your company? What are you launching? Who's it for? What founder do you want to quote from? And stuff like that. And then it used OpenAI to write a press release. And then we, these different teams like filled out the form and then edited the AI generated press release and then presented it. And that one was honestly like a really fun exercise. And it took like less than 30 minutes to set that up. But one of the craziest things I built was, going back to my, side hustle, Social Puppy. I created a way that users could upload photos through interfaces, upload photos of their dogs, and then using Leap ML, I think it's called, uploaded their photos and created a model of their dog, and then created a bunch of AI generated avatars and then emailed them the avatars. And so that's been really fun. Like, of course, I'm having a lot of fun with AI, and it's been great to, play around with the, the image side of things too.
Awesome. Well, Lars, I guess that is all. I can't see any more questions, and I can see the time is up. So thank you so much once again for being here with us today at No Code Ops. We absolutely appreciated your availability and obviously your expertise, and you bringing knowledge into our community. So absolutely loved it.
Mhm.
Thank you so much. I hope we keep in touch. I might see you in Vancouver later on this October.
Yes.
But yeah, thank you again for coming, and keep smashing it with Zapier. And hopefully we'll see you again with some fresh new feature in the future.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. Totally my pleasure. Like happy to be here and love to hear from the audience. So please like reach out anytime. You saw my email and my Twitter there. Reach out. We'd love your feedback.
Awesome. And if you're watching the stream and you're not part of our community and our Discord, please make sure you do sign up. It's free and you get to hang out with me. So why wouldn't you? All right.
Nice.
Well, thank you so much and have a fantastic evening or day up ahead. And I will see you all next week.
Mhm.
Bye, Lars. Take care.
Yeah. Take care, everyone.